what makes a professor, truly unforgettable? Is it just their research? Or maybe their lectures? Or is it something else, something that really sticks with you, changes how you see things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And today we're actually looking at someone exactly like that, Dr. Frank Coppa.
Dr. Coppa, okay.
That's right. He was basically the name when it came to, well, all things Vatican and the popes.
Right.
Seriously, the go-to expert, media, news shows, documentaries. If it was about the Vatican, they called him.
And we're getting this story from where? What's our source material for this deep dive?
It's a really, quite a heartfelt piece, actually. It's called Remembering Professor Frank Coppa, A Scholar's Legacy.
Okay.
Written by Dr. Michael J. Winfield Sr. It was in Off the Cuff magazine, March 19th, 2025.
Gotcha. And Winfield knew him personally?
Oh, yeah. It details Winfield's own experiences with Dr. Coppa back at St. John's University. This was the early 2000s. Coppa was actually chair of the history department then.
So our goal here is really to unpack what made this guy, Professor Coppa, such a huge influence.
Exactly. We want to pull out those, nuggets of wisdom about scholarship, about mentoring.
And maybe how real impact sometimes comes from places you don't expect.
Precisely. Because exploring someone's legacy like this, well, you often find surprising insights about learning, about life itself.
And I hear there's some interesting quirks, some good stories about Professor Coppa.
Oh, definitely. We've got his, let's say, unique advice to a new student, and a pretty amusing anecdote, too, that really captures his down-to-earth nature.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's dive in then. Yeah. Where do we start with Professor Coppa's approach?
Well, what's really fascinating is how quickly he laid out his philosophy, his way of teaching.
How so?
Dr. Winfield mentions arriving at St. John's, right? He had a master's already in sociology.
Yeah. Okay.
And Coppa tells him, pretty much point blank, forget everything you had learned because you were now going to learn history.
Wow. Forget everything. That's quite a thing to say to a new grad student.
Isn't it?
How do you think Winfield took that? And what was Coppa really getting at there? It sounds like setting a very specific tone.
It's a really key point. I mean, yeah, on one level, it could sound almost insulting, right? Dismissing his previous degree.
Totally.
But I think on another level, it was this immediate invitation into a completely new way of thinking, a lesson in intellectual humility, perhaps.
So not dismissive, but revolutionary, like be ready to unlearn.
Exactly. That's it. This forget everything wasn't about throwing away knowledge, but being willing to dismantle your old frameworks, to build something stronger.
Right.
You have to unlearn sometimes to really, really grow. And you have to ask yourself, how many of us are truly willing to do that in our own work, in our lives?
That's a deep point. And it wasn't just about unlearning, was it? He had a clear idea of what scholarship should be.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Winfield talks about how Coppa trained them, using all kinds of resources in the archives, really stressing how important it is to dig deep, to be patient. He apparently drilled into them that scholarship is not a sprint, but a marathon.
Not a sprint, but a marathon. I like that. It feels very countercultural today, doesn't it?
It really does. In this world of scrolling and quick scans, Coppa saying, no, it's a marathon, that challenges how we even think about getting knowledge.
So less Googling, more dust.
Pretty much. Getting dusty in archives, like you said, sifting through old letters, figuring out the bias in original documents, that really hands-on immersive learning, the kind we maybe overlook now. He seemed convinced that depth, real depth, not speed, was what truly mattered. That's what would set you apart.
So he set this really high bar, this rigorous foundation. But what was it actually like learning from him day to day?
Well, Dr. Winfield paints a really vivid picture. His lectures apparently were incredible for just sharing information. Winfield says you could sit at his feet and absorb so much history.
Wow.
But it wasn't all just intense academia, which is interesting. There's this great detail about the seminars. They were 3 hours long.
3 hours, okay.
Yeah, but midway through, Coppa and the other professors would actually take a coffee break.
Ah, a break. That sounds necessary.
Absolutely. And the source describes this really nice, close-knit kind of community feel.
How did that work?
The professors and the students, they'd split into groups and walk over to the law building cafeteria.
Okay.
Students would sit together, professors would sit together, but it created this shared sort of informal space for connection.
So it wasn't just about caffeine?
Not at all. It was like a masterclass in building community, you could say.
Right.
Stepping out of the classroom hierarchy for a bit.
Right.
Sharing that common space. You can imagine maybe, Insight sparked there, mentorship became more personal. Maybe that marathon felt a bit less daunting, you know?
Yeah, I can totally picture that. Those informal chats probably led to all sorts of things. And what's also striking is, even with this major academic reputation and this intense focus on learning, Professor Coppa seemed pretty down to earth.
Very much so. Dr. Winfield shares this running joke Coppa had about the university itself. He'd apparently make some comment and then jokingly say, "I hope Father Harrington didn't hear me."
Father Harrington being?
The president of St. John's at the time.
Ah, okay. So he had a sense of humor about things, didn't take himself too seriously.
Exactly. It shows that light touch.
Yeah.
And that's a really key thing, I think. How often profound mentorship comes from people who are brilliant, yes, but also just approachable, genuine.
Yeah.
The source really hammers home Coppa's unpretentious nature. He's described as a very simple man, someone who did not involve himself in materialism and other such things.
Simple man. Okay. And speaking of his character, isn't there a great story that kind of sums that up?
Oh, yeah. The shoe story. It's fantastic.
Tell me.
Dr. Winfield recalls sitting near him one day, right? And he happens to glance down at Coppa's shoes, brown shoes. And one shoe is completely missing its sole.
What? The whole sole?
The entire sole, just gone. And apparently, Coppa had absolutely no idea he'd lost it somewhere during the day.
That's incredible. So his mind was just completely elsewhere.
It perfectly encapsulates his focus, doesn't it? His priorities were scholarship, his students, the pursuit of knowledge, not the state of his footwear.
Definitely not.
And this unpretentious thing, it wasn't just about appearances. It really extended to how much he cared about his students succeeding.
Right, like the scholarship he got for Dr. Winfield.
Exactly. He actively secured that scholarship for him.
That kind of personal help feels, well, pretty rare these days. Yeah. Why do you think he did that? Was it just generosity or something more?
I think it was more, a deeper philosophy maybe, about removing barriers so promising students could actually do the scholarship.
Makes sense.
Dr. Winfield mentions that scholarship cut his expenses in half, allowed him to finish his PhD with hardly any debt, which he paid off fast.
Huge difference.
Massive. So Coppa wasn't just teaching the knowledge, he was clearing the practical hurdles too, making it possible for students to actually run that academic marathon he talked about.
Yeah.
And Winfield makes a point to say, lots of other students felt the same way, had similar stories. Professor Coppa had countless students, friends, colleagues, people he impacted over the years.
That powerful legacy, both academic and, well, deeply personal.
Absolutely.
So let's try and sort of wrap this up. Thinking about Professor Coppa's legacy, what are the big takeaways for us?
Well, there's definitely that core philosophy, right? True scholarship.
Yeah.
It's not a quick dash. It's an endurance race.
The marathon.
The marathon. It demands patience, digging deep into those archives. It's about academic excellence, integrity, above everything else.
And the power of his mentorship style really comes through, that unpretentious nature.
Yeah, absolutely. His impacts seem to flow directly from that, being a simple character, focusing on teaching, not on materialism, and genuinely caring about his students doing well. That scholarship for Winfield, and you just can't forget the missing shoe sole.
No, you can't.
It really crystallizes who he was. A dedicated educator who, walked the walk, or maybe limped the walk that day.
It does make you think, though, about those truly dedicated teachers and mentors you might encounter in your own life. Finding people like that, learning from them, it can be like a shortcut, can't it?
Yeah.
To real growth, real understanding, whatever your field is.
Yeah, they guide you, help you see that the deep stuff takes time.
So here's a final thought then. We live in this age just saturated with information, instant answers everywhere. Right. What's the real lasting value we get from someone like Coppa? Someone who tells you to forget everything you thought you knew and embrace that long, slow marathon of deep learning.
That's the question, isn't it? And maybe, how do we spot those moments, those people? How do we cultivate those kinds of aha moments ourselves, the ones that really reshape how we understand things?
Just like Professor Coppa did for his students. Something to think about.